baseball has led our family to become friends with some truly amazing people. I'd like to introduce you to one of them who's here with us today. Please welcome Howard Johnson. Mr. Johnson is a Florida native who became a Major League Baseball player at only 21 years old. By the age of 25, Howard Johnson, who played on 2 World Championship teams, was a member of the 1984 World Series champion Detroit Tigers and the 1986 World Series champion New York Mets. Let's go Mets. A star of the Mets infield, Howard Johnson is third on the Mets all-time list for home runs, runs batted in, doubles, and stolen bases. Howard Johnson, nicknamed Hojo, is part of the 30-30 club, which in baseball terms means that he had 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in one season. This power/speed combination is the best example of an amazing all-around baseball talent. He was the first switch hitter to achieve the honor and is a 3-time member of the exclusive 30-30 club in 1987, 1989, and 1991. Mr. Johnson played for the Detroit Tigers, New York Mets, Colorado Rockies, and Chicago Cubs. During his career, he led the National League in home runs in 1991 and runs scored in 1989. He was the National League All-Star Team in 1989 and 1991, and he won the National League Silver Slugger Award for third baseman in 1989 and 1991. And he held a career National League record for home runs by switch hitter in 1992 and 1997. Just to name a few of his career highlights, after playing professional baseball, Mr. Johnson continued his career in baseball and coaching for several teams. Please give a warm welcome to our friend, Hojo.
How you guys doing this morning? A little different today, right? So, every time I get a chance to speak in front of students, I want to try to impart some kind of knowledge, some kind of wisdom, that'll make an impact on how you think about yourself when it comes to certain things you try to achieve, right? So for me, I ask a couple of questions, so I want you to think about it in your own mind. Right? Who wants to be successful, first of all, right? You raise your hand on that. Everybody wants. Right? I still want to be successful. What does winning look like? What are your goals? And do you like competition? The reason these are key questions is because you need to be able to give clear answers to those questions. A lot of kids, they lack a plan, a move forward, step-by-step instructions. How do I do this? If I want to be best at what I want to be at, how do I do it? These are the questions you have to ask yourself all the time. The biggest point that I talk about when we are talking about competition, talk about winning, being successful. How do you separate yourself from the pack? How do you separate yourself from your peers? It gets harder and harder as you get older. You guys know that already. Some of you are going to be graduating here, some of you are going to be going to college pretty soon. The people who make it to the top, they have to separate themselves in some way. If we all do the same thing, then we're going to end up being mediocre, which doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that we're going to be roughly the same. Well, that's not really success. For some people, maybe it is, but just the average. But most people, I expect that most of the students in here, I know there's faculty members, most of them would say they want to separate from the pack. They want their players, their students to be better than them. And that's what we should strive for all the time. Everything that we do. One thing I like to ask as I talk about competition is, do you ever compete against yourself? Do you? I see some heads nodding. Yes, do you have to? There's absolutely no way you can be the best at anything if you don't compete against your own self. Because as you keep climbing the ladder, there's fewer and fewer people around. And you have to be able to be honest with yourself. doing what I need to do, or am I not doing it? You know, when you're an athlete and you are in front of thousands of people every night playing a game that you are getting paid well for, however, there's a lot of pressure that goes with that. There's a lot of pressure of being a student. There's a lot of pressure of going to college. There's a lot of pressure of owning your own business, making sure you can pay the bills. There's a lot of pressure of being a parent. Okay? How do I bring up successful children? What is important to them? What is important to me? All these things require some kind of competition within yourself. And can you look in the mirror and learn about what you're good at and what you're not good at? And the whole key to this is being honest. You have to be honest with yourself, because if you're not, you cannot expect others to be honest to you. I'm telling you this was a fact. People want the best for students. I don't know anybody who doesn't. Everybody wants the best, right? We all want the best. Your parents want the best for you. Okay? But what's important is, how do you achieve what you want to achieve? What is the plan? Being honest with yourself is job number one. It's impossible to be here if you can't look in the mirror and say, I know that person's here did not do what he's supposed to do today. He took a little bit off of his workout. Maybe he cut his time short in the weight room a little bit. Maybe he didn't take his big swings in the back each day. You know, TV, roll, whatever, ground balls, all those things. Guy in the mirror, woman in the mirror, young person in the mirror. They know that's true. Okay? Other people do not. Only you. You're not going to be able to feel it. You guys know that. If you try to just get by on little, then that's what you're going to get back. There's a principle. The more you put into something, the more you receive. Okay? The more you give, the more comes back. It's a great thing to want to give to somebody something valuable. I'm up here. I played a long time ago. You guys, your parents know who I am, probably don't. But I'm just telling you that my experiences in sports and in life, I coached a long time. I still coach kids. The main thing for me is, how do I impart wisdom to that kid, to that parent? How do we create athletes? How do we create student athletes? How do we do these things? You have to understand goals to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Follow the plan. You know, when we first get on the highway, now it's GPS, used to be a map. You actually have to look at a map. Now it's just GPS. It tells you step by step how to get where you want to go, right? In sports, athletics, education, business, you have to keep moving forward. You cannot afford to become complacent. You have no complacency is. That means I'm just expecting certain things that are going to happen automatically. Okay? A lot of times complacency comes with a little bit of success. And what I mean by that is, if you attempt something, and let's say right off the bat, you're good at it, and you have a good experience with it, there are things you can improve on still, right? There are things you can improve on. But because you had some success, maybe you don't work as hard the next time this opportunity or this challenge comes up. And complacency sets in, and that's when you start moving backwards. In sports, we always say you're moving forward or you're moving backwards. You're never going to stay exactly the same. It doesn't work. It's a sad reality. You have to keep moving forward. You have to follow the plan. You have to know that there's more. The more you dig into something, right? Look at Major League Baseball. The more you look into the sport as a player, or as a coach, as a student, the more you dig into it, the more layers there are. That means you can find other levels of area that you have to get better at. Because if you just do what everybody else does, you just break your knee. You have to dig deeper and find out where am I failing? Where am I short? Can I improve that? That's where coaches, parents, other successful people come in. I learned a long time ago when I was y'all's age, that if you really want something in life, find the people who are best at it. It's a job, owning your own company, sports. Find out who the best people are and what they do. How do they prepare? How do they get themselves right? How come they are able to separate from the pack? Okay, that's a key. Separate yourself from the best. Okay? If you learn those lessons, especially now at your guys' age, I know there's some younger kids in here, but it doesn't matter. The more you're around successful people, the more successful you're going to become. If you have a mindset, right, of growth, that you want to get better, that you're not going to be complacent, that you're not going to just keep the status quo. That's never going to work. Remember, either go forward or you go backwards all the time. That's how you build a positive work ethic. Okay? Work ethic simply means this is my life. This is what I do. Okay? When people associate my name with something, I want them to think, hey, he does a good job. He works hard. He tries to do it. And you want the same thing for yourselves. It begins now. You guys can compete with anybody. You can become your best person. That's you. If you create that positive work ethic. When that happens, and that people do it, and you have a positive culture that supports itself, right? And it raises everybody. There's an old saying that rising tide floats all boats. So it doesn't matter if it's a big boat or a little boat. That boat's going to go up. So you have to build that culture, build it in. It starts individually and it spreads to your team. You have a big group. Next thing you know, it's a whole school. The 86 Mets, it was a whole team. We were unbelievable. We got lucky a few times. I got to admit. But in case you don't know, I would say go home. You can Google it now. You can YouTube it. 86 Mets, Game 6 in the World Series against Boston. And if you just type in Bill Buckner, it'll pop up on your screen. Watch what happened in that final inning of Game 6. It's amazing. I know we got some questions here in a minute. Two more things I want to say. Being great begins with a decision. You have to decide what you want to be good at something. If you don't know what it is you want to be good at, ask other people, ask your parents, ask your teachers, ask your coaches. They'd be more than happy to talk to you, try to help you weed through it. Some of you guys have no idea. You know what? When I was your age, all I wanted to do was play baseball. But I wanted to be the best at it. It starts with a decision. You want to be good at something, you want to be great at something, you have to decide, I want to be good at it. I want to work at it. I want to make it my job. When I finally became a professional baseball player, I was right out of high school. And all of a sudden I'm getting paid not a lot of money. But I was getting paid to play a game that I would play for free if I could. Then it becomes your job. Then there's other people that are you're responsible for, your teammates, the organization that you're with. All these things come with that. It's a responsibility. It's very important. Okay? One last thing, and then we're going to have some questions. You guys know what icebergs are. Not here in Florida, obviously. If you look at an iceberg, probably I've heard this analogy before, but if you look at an iceberg, and you're on the ocean on a boat, Titanic, you see that iceberg, and you see it. All you see is a little point of now what? I would say, I don't know the percentage, I was going to look it up, but I would say probably 80% to 90% of that iceberg is below the surface. What that represents is work, time, effort, and sacrifice that you have to make good. And whatever it is you want to be good at, that's your choice. That's your decision. All that, that's the iceberg that you don't see. And all we see is the peak, a little bit that comes out of the water. It's not unusual for it to be like a small iceberg out in the middle of the North Atlantic. And below that thing, there's a massive block, ice. That represents hard work, dedication, and effort. These are things we can control. There's 10 things, probably heard this one before, 10 things that require zero talent to make you better. Zero talent. Some people want to say, well, I'm not as good as that guy, he's got more talent than I have. He's a better pitcher, he's a better thrower, he's a better runner, he's a better hitter, all these things. That's talent. I'll give you that. You gotta have some talent, obviously. That comes out. That comes out. It requires no talent. There's 10 things, and I'm not going to do a lot more, but here's 10. Being on time. Being on time, number 1. Number 2, making an effort. Everybody can do that. Number 3, being high energy. Okay. Number 4, having a positive attitude. These are all decisions that you make. Number 5, being passionate and caring about what you're doing. Even in the small things. If you want to be trusted with the big things in life, you have to be reliable with the small things in life. That's what happens. The more little victories you have, bigger victories you can later. Number 6, using good body language. Nobody wants to come in here and see guys on his head. Hey, we just lost the game, and my head's down, my own thoughts, whatever. Okay, fine. You want to be in your own thoughts for a minute? That's fine. Don't let everybody else see it. There's no reason to do that. Okay? Good body language. Number 7, coaching. That goes back to being complacent. You're never going to have a career or success if you're not coaching. Business, sports, whatever. Number 8, a little extra. There's always more. We can always do a little bit more, right? Like I said earlier in my talk, if you do everything that everybody else does, that just breaks you. It's what you do beyond that. It's really shit. Number 9, be prepared. Okay? That person's mirror knows if I study for that test. That person's mirror knows if I went to break. All these things, right? And number 10, having a strong mind. All these things add up to that. I want to thank you again for having me here. I know there's some questions we want to have, and you guys can feel free. Yes. I've been able to hold on an Xbox. Oh, an Xbox? No, I swung an Xbox. No, I have not hit a home run with an Xbox. Those are new. When I played, they didn't have that. Great question. The question is who inspired me, who was influential in my career. I would say in the beginning it's my father, my dad. He wasn't a professional athlete, but he was an athlete. He was in the Navy. I remember when I was little watching softball, doing all these things. And if it wasn't for him investing in me the time that it took every day after elementary school, going out there with my mom, my brother, and my sister, dad would go to the big ground balls and my brother would do all this stuff. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't understand the value of the work, right? Getting better. And that if you want to be good at something, you have to practice. You have to get down and work on this. You have to be able to pay it. It's okay. Failure just makes it real. That's what it is. You win all the time, it's not real. It's going to fail. And you learn from that failure. My dad taught me a lot. Favorite aspect about playing in the major leagues, I would say getting to compete against the best in the world at something. I think there's a lot to be said for that. After I got done playing, I went to coaching, and my goal was to coach the best in the world. I wanted to coach the best, be around them. achieved them. It took me a few years, but I was able to get there and achieve them. And those are the best things ever, because now I can look back and see how this person did it, right? As opposed to the way I did it. Because the way I did it, I had success, but I wouldn't teach somebody that all the time. There's going to be other things that you learn from people that are way smarter than you, way better than you. That's what I'm trying to do. Yes. 3 days rituals are very good. Well, snacks-wise, I love almond joy. You guys like almond joy? That's I could eat those all day. Also, one other thing I would have these little maybe spice crunch. You guys know what those are? I love those. I go into Publix or I go to CVS or something, I would go to that one aisle. It's got all the candy. I look for the spice drops, and sometimes they're all out. A lot of times I've got 3 or 4 bags there around. Yes, I'm the guy that's going to go around the whole road, buy 5 or 6 bags, and have one hand. No, but also from another thing, from a realistic thing, I like to get dressed exactly the same way every day. My ritual was always when I was a kid, it was putting the uniform on. That was the greatest thing. When I finally got an opportunity to put a major league uniform on, it was incredible. Just a real. Some of the challenges I face in baseball. Well, I would say that just being out there every day, knowing that you have to be the best every day, is a challenge. Because I can tell you right now, you will not be the best every day. There's going to be days when you wake up and your body hurts, or something happens in the game and you're not at the best, you injure something, you pull a muscle, something like that. It's impossible to be at your best every day. And the guys and women who are successful beyond those limitations, right?